Good afternoon, everyone. The International Conference on Cooling and Membrane Separation, ICMS 2026, is a scientific 2 days event at LUMS hosted by Department of Chemistry and Chemical Engineering, where we are bringing together academia, industry, young scientists to talk about latest development on cooling technologies and membrane-based separation techniques. My name is Nadiha Rahman, and I'm pleased to bring together three distinguished voices from the membrane science, each shaping the field with their innovation, industry expertise, and research. I am joined by Professor Frank Lipnizki, who's a professor at Lund University and president of European Membrane Society, with extensive expertise in industrial membrane processes and their large-scale applications. Then we have Professor Dr. Klaus-Viktor Peinemann. He is globally recognized membrane scientist and co-founder of GMT Membrane Technology, known for translating advanced membrane research into real-world applications. We have Professor Dr. Suzana Pereira Nunes, is leading expert in membrane science and recognized for her work on sustainable polymeric membranes and recipient of L'Oréal UNESCO for Women in Science Award. Thank you so much for coming. Welcome to Pakistan. Welcome to Lahore. My first question is to Professor Klaus on global energy challenges. So in current energy crisis, how do you see membrane technology adding value to energy globally? And do you think it offers a compelling and scalable solution to the situation?
Yes, maybe I can give you three short examples. Separation in general consumes a lot of energy in the petrochemical industry. And mostly separation is being done by distillation processes. And the strength of membranes is that they can separate energy-intensive distillation processes. Not all of them, but some of them very effectively. The most prominent example here is seawater desalination. And seawater desalination is now being mostly done by a membrane process, just filtering out the salt, a process called reverse osmosis. Because the reason is simple, because it just consumes only half of the energy, maybe even less than half of the energy. Now, our company GMT is not working in this field because this is quite established field. Now, we are focusing on the petrochemical industry to replace distillation of organic solvents, which is quite challenging because now the membranes has to be stable in these organic solvents. And in some cases, they can separate very effectively different fractions of organic solvents. Let's say in the oil industry can do this. Now I will not go into details, but the second example is similar, is with vapors, organic vapors. Here we are working with natural gas. And natural gas, as you know, contains mostly methane, but also higher hydrocarbons like propane and butane. And they have to be filtered out. This can be done by cooling it down, freezing out the higher hydrocarbons, which costs energy. And we save a lot of energy with our membranes. Our membrane can just filter out the larger molecules, the higher hydrocarbons. Few people know this. Membranes are filters, but our filters, these special filters, filter out the larger molecules. The butane, propane goes faster. So this saves a lot of energy because we don't have to decrease the temperature. The third example, which I want to mention, is oxygen enrichment. Our membranes can separate air, enrich oxygen. Why does this save energy? Because of many industrial combustion processes use just air, 21% oxygen. When we enrich the oxygen, let's say to 31%, the combustion process runs much more effective. And by doing this, we can save conventional energy. So these are three examples. I would know many more, but I will stop here. Thank you.
Dr. Klaus just mentioned green, sustainable approaches. So your work revolves around sustainable green solvents, and you work in circular economy as well. So how do you see the influence in your research?
Yeah, I think it's very clear with the examples of Klaus in general, membranes are a sustainable alternative, a sustainable solution. in the specific talk that I will give, so it's about sustainability of the membrane fabrication itself. We forget, so membranes are prepared with polymeric materials, so plastics, for instance, a lot of solvent we use, and we use water a lot. And we forget that when we talk about energy crisis or oil crisis, it's not all about fuel. It's about all kinds of chemicals that are produced from petroleum. So if we have a crisis, we have a crisis also in the fabrication of not only membranes, a lot of chemical engineering, chemical industry. So we need alternatives also because of availability of future or using renewable sources. And also toxicity. So we don't want that someone working in the industry producing membranes will be affected by toxic solvents, chemicals, and so on. And I think it's a question of only when we will have to really change and at least part of this, and not if.
And also be mindful about the fact that if the approaches we have, our current practices are environmental friendly as well. Speaking of which, Professor Frank, you know, Pakistan is a huge textile industry and we spend lots of water, it's not a good thing, but in textile production, especially denim. So do you see membrane technology's influence in making that industry sustainable? Like if we talk about textile industry?
I mean, generally, membranes have certainly a great potential in the textile industry because there's water, is the medium, as you have already mentioned, and certainly the trend should go in the direction of zero discharge textile industry, and there actually membranes can help quite a bit. And the important thing is when you talk about zero discharge, I mean, the ideal scenario would be really also then that you recycle the wastewater within the processes, that you keep actually the water intake down and also the discharge at zero. So, and that's actually what membranes can help with. And for example, nanofiltration can be an alternative actually to remove quite a lot of the coloring compounds from the textile wastewater. An advantage, certainly, a disadvantage of membranes is certainly still, I mean, they're still perceived as pricey, even though the prices are going down. And I mean, once in a while, it's also worthwhile to investigate actually how pricey they are, because there's often just a perception without actually having it tested. And I think that's quite important to actually test these technologies and actually try to find modern ways actually to integrate membranes into the textile industry. For example, we did actually a project where we tried actually also improve the sustainability of the membranes used in the textile industry. There we actually used electrospinning and cellulose acetate, basically a sustainable membrane polymer, which to actually produce membranes which could help actually in the textile industry. The other thing is actually where we work in my department at Lund University on is actually also textile recycling. And there you have also waste streams, and then also there membranes can actually help to recover actually some of the compounds you need actually for the recycling of the textiles.
And the treated water can also be used in the recycling process and later in the textile industry.
Yes.
Speaking of industries, we always talk about that industry is adding a lot to the climate crisis. In Pakistan especially, we have observed massive floods in like past 2-3 years. And water shifts and the overall climate change in Pakistan. How do you think that we can use the situation to our benefit? Is there anything in your perspective, since you work in sustainability and circular economy, is there a way we can find out to, because of course now we are fighting climate crisis, but can we use the situation to our benefit in some capacity?
Yeah, I think the first is obvious, no? So a lot of things happen. I think denying climate change is impossible now.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on in what we don't see, like underwater, in sea oceans, so biodiversity being lost. But with the floods, you see on your own life, so you cannot deny. I think any good leader will say we need to do something. We need to fight for propose methods that are against climate change. At least try to break it, to slow down. In terms of membrane or scientists, I think it's our duty to work on possibilities, solutions that will minimize that. Membrane, of course, for me is a way. Nanofiltration, especially, we work not only on sustainable fabrication, but develop membranes that can be implemented in chemical industry. So as was already mentioned, a lot of energy consumption or emission happens in chemical industry. So we need better membranes that are more stable to be applied, to be effective. And at the end, it is not only about environment, but I think if you have you're responsible for industry, you see that it's also competitive technology. You gain also in terms of economics also, I think.
Professor Frank, lots of your work is in pulp and paper industry. Would you like to talk about it a little bit and how membrane technology is influencing that industry in particular?
Yeah, I mean, basically, coming from Sweden, there's certainly a big pulp and paper industry in the country, but the interest is actually about the pulping and paper industry. Is actually pulp and paper industry can actually is the backbone of the biorefineries area. So actually, they actually you take in a product and you separate it into a separate other product, and you have a lot of byproducts. So you can actually see when you look at the biorefinery or pulp cellulosic-based pulp mill, then you could actually see it in analogy to a petrochemical refinery, which they basically utilize the incoming gas to produce heat power. And when you look, one of the challenges at the moment in the pulp and paper industry is actually that the main focus is actually on cellulose. Basically, cellulose, which we use for paper, which we use for textiles, is the main focus. But actually, when you look at the tree, for example, there's also a huge portion of hemicellulose, and also there's lignin included. And at the moment, basically, the lignin, for example, is quite often just burned. And the tree grows over years, and just to burn it is probably not the right way to use this raw material. And so there are options actually to, for example, use lignin as a raw material, then to actually make jet fuels for the aviation industry. So there are actually other options to utilize this byproduct in a much more efficient way. Or for example, hemicellulose, there are investigation to use hemicellulose as packaging film. So basically having a layer on a packaging, which is then allowing, for example, oxygen to go through it and retains other things. So these selective layers, and the hemicellulose could have actually a potential. So I think this conversion of the pulp and paper industry into biorefineries is very exciting and hopefully also very promising approach forward for the future.
Professor Klaus, you think the membrane technology as a whole is adding value to the environmental and sustainability overall, like in the larger perspective? What do you think about that?
Definitely, yes. Yes, I can again mention very shortly 3 examples. Number one is our society, also industry, produces too much waste streams. We have to reuse more waste streams just to clean and reuse it. Again here, water is a famous example. Much wastewater is already reused on a large scale, like in cities like Singapore. Now again, our company is not working with water, but with organic solvent streams, same story. So we are purifying waste industrial solving streams, removing toxic substances, and the solvent can then be reduced in many cases. The second example is, again, in the vapor phase. We started our company, it was a quite successful, lucky start with hydrocarbon vapor recovery from big storage facilities, gasoline storage facilities. When these storage containers, the big containers, are being filled with gasoline, air is coming out that is saturated with gasoline vapor, which can be easily 1 kilogram per cubic meter. And we developed a membrane system where these gasolines can be recovered. So this is first good for the environment, because it's not good to have such large amounts of hydrocarbons in the environment. And secondly, it's a valuable component. Third example, very briefly, is of course CO2. CO2 is a big threat for the environment, for climate change. CO2 is responsible. We are now approaching 430 ppm, it's too much. And membranes can play here, and already starting to play, a very important role to reduce the CO2 emissions. I'm not talking about capturing directly from air. This is a waste of money. Many companies invest here, but I'm convinced it's a waste of money. But we are focusing, and other companies too, on companies like, good example is cement industry. Cement industry worldwide is one of the large emitters of CO2. And we are developing membranes and modules, which can just extract the CO2, not that it does not go in the atmosphere and then do something with the CO2. So these are some important examples.
So tomorrow and the day after, lots of young scientists are coming to ICMS at Lund, and you have talks. Each one of you have to. Do you want to talk about what you're talking about in your talks? So what's your talk?
My talk is indeed about sustainable fabrication of membranes and sustainable chemicals, polymers.
Yeah. And what's your talk is about in ICMS? What's the topic?
Okay, it's 2 parts in my talk. It's 40 minutes. I will use maybe 10 minutes talking about a little bit about our company and giving some nice examples. But the major part of my talk will be more educational. I will talk about the transport through our membranes. What does happen? All our membranes are composite structures. So it's quite interesting to talk about this. It was also a little bit a test for the students. I will check what they know.
And I'm sure Lund students won't disappoint you. And I'm sure the other students who are coming, joining us from other institutions. What about your talk in the conference?
I will talk about lignocellulosic biorefineries, basically where you can integrate actually membranes into the processes and give some examples from the research we did over the years. And one important aspect I will also touch on is actually membrane fouling, which is quite important because it's one of the cost factors apart from the membrane itself.
That's nice to hear. And if you are in Lahore and if you have registered for the ICMS 2026, we hope to see you soon, tomorrow, at Lund. And there will be more distinguished speakers from the field and lots of young researchers and other researchers to connect with. So we hope to see you soon, tomorrow.